Tonight, parents warn schools could close next week because of industrial action, and millions of dollars pledged to help combat coastal erosion.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Teachers will walk off the job and schools could close under strike action planned for next Monday. The Education Union is campaigning for better working conditions in regional areas, while the state government is urging them to reconsider the move.
Deja vu as teachers yet again prepare to swap pencils for picketing.
Hey, what do you want?
Respect!
Staff in schools across the region voting to leave their classrooms on Monday after failed negotiations between the Education Union and the state government. The union says its concerns for regional schools have fallen on deaf ears. It wants to see smaller class sizes, job security, more resources to deal with student complexity issues, as well as new conditions to attract teachers to the country.
We want resources that are targeted at classrooms and students because, as I said before, our working conditions has a direct correlation with the outcomes for students.
Parents are supportive of the action.
I certainly do, yeah.
If it's going to get them what they want, then they should do it.
But some are questioning the short notice.
Probably it should have been a bit more time, probably for the parents to organise the kids.
A sentiment echoed by the Treasurer. He's calling for the union to delay the industrial action until the school holidays.
We don't think that's too much to ask of the union bosses. Think of the parents, think of the grandparents, think of the students.
The state government says it is open to negotiations on some of the bargaining agreements, but won't budge on an increase to a 2.35% pay rise for educators.
I think in most people's view, a pretty reasonable offer given the state of the state's finances.
Up to 400 schools across the state could close, with those affected to notify parents by the end of the day tomorrow. Teachers preparing to drape the streets in red, with rallies planned for Port Lincoln and Whyalla.
They're doing an amazing job teaching our kids and helping them through life, so they should get what they deserve.
The opposition were unavailable for comment. Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Regional coastlines are set to get a boost in funding, with the South Australian government pledging $4 million to help combat coastal erosion. But the Local Government Association has raised concerns with the program, saying the funding falls short of what is needed.
This beautiful coastline under threat. Erosion is proving to be an ongoing issue. Now the government is stepping in. It's delivering $52 million over 4 years to restore and repair the coastline in both metro and regional areas.
Coastlines are always at risk from erosion, sand drift, all those things, and this will help with the protection of particularly those built-up areas, but also sand dunes and erosion-prone areas.
Metro areas receiving up to $48 million, but regional areas are left with a much smaller slice.
The state government's pledging $4 million in partnership with councils to country areas in particular. So there's probably not the pressure on country coastal areas as there is in metropolitan areas.
Previously, $350,000 was made available for regional areas. Now, with an extra $700,000 on top of that, the state government's hoping it can better protect our unique coastline.
Here on the Eyre Peninsula, it's a really big part of what we use to attract interstate and overseas tourists as well. So if we can enhance that tourist attraction as part of this and provide environmental benefits as well, it's a win-win.
Despite the extra funding, the Local Government Association says the money falls well short from what is required. South Australia's Coastal Protection Board recommending $25 million of infrastructure was needed across regional South Australia.
So you can see it's a big job, big task, and this small allocation will start, but we need more to be able to actually put all those measures in place.
The association originally asking the state government for $10 million, only receiving 40% of that.
To get $1 million a year is a start, but it's certainly short of where we need to be.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill and its surrounding townships will stay on Level 1 water restrictions despite it being the middle of winter. Essential Water's Customer Council made the decision yesterday, but its one local council has labelled a farce.
a decision met with disappointment.
The state government has spent over $500 million supplying us with a secure water supply that they stated would mean that we would never have to be on water restrictions again.
This week, Essential Water announced Broken Hill, Silverton and Menindee would stay on Level 1 water restrictions. One change made, locals can manually water their gardens between 4 p.m. and 10 a.m. to reduce evaporation. But the maintained restrictions has drawn criticism from Mr Kennedy. He says with the new Murray River pipeline supplying the city, they shouldn't be in place.
Look, I'd be surprised if very few people even taken notice of the water restrictions.
According to Water New South Wales, the Wentworth pipeline will supply just over 37 megalitres of water to Broken Hill a day. A recent report from the state government says the Silver City on average uses between 14 and 16 megalitres a day. Mr Kennedy has labelled it ridiculous that the city is still on restrictions.
I don't know if they're doing this to get us used to using a certain amount of water so that they have more water available to supply to third parties.
Essential Water was contacted for comment. Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a new program helping inmates prepare for life after prison, and more heavy vehicles on our roads sparks calls for more driver education. Welcome back. A new education program is helping inmates at the Port Augusta prison transition into the workforce after time served. The Work Ready, Release Ready program is part of a number of education measures being used behind bars.
Within these walls hold some of the state's most dangerous prisoners, but many are trying to turn their lives around. This education hub becoming a popular means to learn more skills.
Prisoners are always coming up looking to join into the program.
Training is targeted towards jobs specific for the Port Augusta region.
Cert 2 projects of engineering, cooking, and there's also a few business ones that we are endeavouring to get on site.
Courses are also taught on the impacts of violence and drug and alcohol abuse. The classroom popularity soaring with around 160 prisoners enrolled.
We're getting a good success rate with it.
It goes hand in hand with the Work Ready, Release Ready program, which assists job-seeking prisoners in attaining qualifications, brushing up on interview skills, as well as connecting them with housing and transport services.
They continue that program as they transition through the prison system and into community.
The prison's general manager, SANDRA Russell, says having a job is a big factor in reducing reoffending.
So having a structured day and a means of their own income.
Prison workers say they've witnessed the program's value, with some inmates turning a corner from their criminal past.
We know that prisoners from here at Port Augusta have actually transitioned into paid employment, including apprenticeships.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A new road safety park in Port Lincoln could soon become reality, with the program now up for discussion by the town's council. The Lower Air Road Safety Committee says the park would help educate young drivers on how to be safe on our roads.
Heavy vehicles such as these have become a common sight around Port Lincoln following the closure of the railway last month. The extra trucks raising concern for road safety.
We have vehicles coming in from New West Road. We have vehicles coming down, heavy vehicles coming down Liverpool Street. We have vehicles returning from the silos. We just do not want a serious incident.
Members of the Lower Air Road Safety Committee says they're trying to become more active within the community, assisting councils and police in their road safety effort.
We've taken it on ourselves to become more energetic, more publicly exposed and more pronounced in our efforts to help.
The committee hoping to secure around $2,000 in funding from the local council to help kickstart a new road safety park, which they say would help educate younger drivers on how to be safe on our roads.
So that they can understand what a stop sign is, what a rail crossing is, and what double lines mean and various things like that.
Locals say more education such as the proposed park is needed.
People need to be updated on how to use the road. road rules properly, you know, and would make a big difference.
There's a lot of inattentive drivers in Port Lincoln, impatient type of drivers, so I think I have a lot of problems with roundabouts.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. They're pretty courteous from what I can see. They, usually give way when they have to, and I don't see a problem.
The committee are currently in talks with the council. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A foul odour has swept through Whyalla after gas escaped from the steelworks during planned maintenance works. Residents in East Whyalla were the worst affected by the smell, with Liberty Primary Steel apologising for the incident. The company says strong wind conditions allowed the gas to quickly spread, and it is now investigating other methods to minimise future risk. Broken Hill locals who frequently use the city's waste facility will soon have to pay to get through the gate. It comes after councillors voted to adopt the 2019-2020 budget at their monthly meeting.
Waste not, want not.
We had to change our rating system and we did a lot of hard work, and I thank the community for coming along with us.
At last night's meeting, Council voted in favour of adopting the budget 2019-2020. One of the highlights, Council stopping the transfer of mine rates onto residents. Positive mining prospects for the city in 2019 seeing changes put on hold.
So we've been reducing the mine rates. We've actually said no more. We're at a pause level and we're looking at that.
Council rates were increased at the meeting though, but only by the rate peg limit. Broken Hill remains one of the few councils in New South Wales which has not increased rates above the rate peg in the last decade. Another part of the budget Council has introduced is fees for the city's dump.
Generally speaking, households won't notice any difference to what they have been doing up till now. It's really those commercial operators working with them.
Under the new structure, locals will get 5 free trips to the tip annually. Every visit after will cost. But Council says that only applies to regular household waste. Green waste, e-waste, recyclables and iron and steel are free all year round.
We're a licensed facility, so it's really important that what comes over the weighbridge is understood, known, and we don't max out that capacity and take more than we're entitled to take.
Council says the new fee system will likely come into effect in August. People will soon receive a waste facility card that will be scanned when they use the service. Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, we meet a woman on a long journey to change assisted dying laws, and after 30 years, a police officer from Broken Hill hangs up his hat. Hello again. A Western Australian woman is making bold strides in her campaign for assisted dying support. The 27-year-old is walking between states for the campaign and made a special stopover in Port Pirie.
Belinda Tay is making a special trek, walking from Melbourne to Perth as part of her journey for change. The 3 million step walk, all for a campaign and a cause which is close to her heart.
For my mum, she was a terminally ill cancer patient. She made 2 requests to her doctors after she was told that she had several weeks left to live.
Her cause, changing Western Australia's laws about assisted dying support, a topic Belinda says is important for all terminally ill people. An opportunity for choice.
To start talking about it, and unfortunately the responsibility lies with the people who have experiences like ours to really get out there the truth about what happens.
The 27-year-old making a special stop in her journey at Port Pirie.
I get so many messages every day from South Australians and Australians around the country with messages of support.
Meeting with the parents of Kylie Monaghan, an avid campaigner for euthanasia until she was tragically taken by breast cancer at the age of 35.
It's for everybody. This is not for just our benefit, Belinda's benefit, is for the whole country.
Kylie's mother sharing a T-shirt of her late daughter.
My life, my choice. Why can't I have that choice?
Victoria recently became the first state to legalise assisted dying, while the South Australian government has launched its own inquiry into end-of-life choices, with a joint committee calling for public submissions to be received before the 2nd of August. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A long-standing police officer in the Broken Hill region has today officially retired after decades in the force. After over 30 years with the New South Wales Police Force, Sergeant Paul Roberts officially hung up his hat at a ceremony in the Silver City. He's spent the last 8 years stationed in Menindee. Today he shared a few stories of his time in the service.
All things from Prince Philip down at Dubbo when Queen visited to meeting premiers and all the rest of it, and also your general day-to-day work.
Sergeant Roberts says he's looking forward to having some time to himself. He plans to stay in the Far West region and do some fishing in Menindee. The Broken Hill West Panthers won all 3 finals of the Soccer Association's Knockout Cup last night. The West women played the first match of the evening, beating St Joe's 6-1 to clinch the trophy for the 7th straight time. The Panthers also squared off against the Joeys in B grade and A grade, the reserves being decided with a penalty shootout. West made it a hat-trick of wins by the end of the night, taking out the A grade in a 3-2 thriller. Stay with us after the break. We'll hear from the fishing tips experts and Britt will have the weather. Welcome back. Now let's hear from the experts with your weekend fishing tips.
Guess how it happened on the weekend? You know, like we went out on Saturday and there was a quota caught in a particular spot. Went out on a Sunday, not 2 fish caught from the same spot. So how do you work that out? Everything's just shrunk overnight, so about 1.5 centimetres. I bet you a lot of you anglers out there are feeling that at the particular moment. What we have to remember is when we do get these smaller fish, handle them carefully and then go and try for some other ones. But I would say if you're going to go for the third creek patches, you should find yourself some fish, but you will have to move around 1 or 2 out of each hole. The snapper at this particular moment are still around the place. You will get a nice small panty if you needed one, but then if you're looking at yellowfin still, you can't believe it, they're still there. So you get right up in the shallows, in the colder areas like Port Broughton and all that sort of stuff, you should find yourself a yellowfin.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jaw of the North. Well, spectacularly cold at the moment, but also some really nice calm weather to get out there. Squid are really good along the shacks. The tip there is always that last half an hour of last light is when you get the most of them. It's a nice garfish up and around the mangroves on these nice calm nights as well. King George whiting can be found around the Flinders Channel and even down around to the entrance down to Chinaman's Creek. Just be careful, there's a few small ones amongst them as well, so you have to sort through that. And the whales again were up on Sunday. And that's all we have from the Jaw of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start on the south coast of Port Lincoln. There's been some nice schools of salmon patrolling along that coast. So yeah, when they move within casting range, it has been offering some pretty good fishing. Back around Lincoln, there's been a few flathead in the shallows of our bay, especially up along the North Shore. And the best reports of whiting this week came from McLaren Point and Taylor's Landing. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there's been a few whiting around the oyster racks, but a lot of undersized fish, so you will have to check the size. But there's been some nice garfish and some salmon trout mixed in with them as well. Farm Beach continues to produce quite a few whiting at the moment. Ellison Salmon Fishing Championship starts next week, so this year it's a slightly different format. It's just going to run for 1 month instead of the 3. So if you're keen to catch a salmon and enter it into the competition, the comp starts next Monday and runs for a month. That's all the fishing reports we've got. We'll see you again next week with more fishing tips.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather for the next few days. Here's Britt.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. We've had a sunny day about the region with maximum temperatures between 4 and 6 degrees above average today. Port Augusta reached a top of 23 degrees, Whyalla 22, Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Adelaide all 21, Port Lincoln 20. Taking a look at the skies, with that high pressure system over the Tasman still extending a ridge our way. Not much cloud about today with increasing warm and dry winds. Now that should change tomorrow with a trough of low pressure moving through, followed by a cold front. To the Gulf waters now with northerly winds tomorrow between 15 and 20 knots and seas at 2 metres. Sunrise will be at 7:25 tomorrow morning with sunset just before 5:20. The warmer temperatures are set to continue tomorrow with mostly fine conditions through the day, and then rain developing in the afternoon and evening about the west coast, Port Lincoln and the Eyre Peninsula. These parts may see late thunderstorms as well, with a slight chance of evening showers over the remainder of the region. Port Augusta expecting a top of 23 tomorrow, Whyalla and Woodner 22, Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Cleve 21, Corn, Kadina and Adelaide 20, A top of 19 predicted for Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay, Clare 18 degrees. Moving ahead now to the 4-day forecast, where we can really see the effects of that cold front coming through. Port Lincoln expecting early rain on Saturday with a possible thunderstorm and strong winds at up to 40 kilometres an hour. Sunday cloudy with a partly cloudy start to next week. Cleve will see rain easing on Saturday with northeasterly winds at 35 to 50 kilometres an hour. Sunday and Monday looking partly cloudy. Woodner also expecting severe winds on Saturday with rain easing through the day, looking fine Sunday and Monday though. Whyalla with a shower or two on Saturday, most likely in the morning, strong winds about the area as well. Sunday and Monday both fine and partly cloudy. Much the same at Port Augusta, becoming quite windy on Saturday with morning showers and then fine into next week. Kadina with rain easing on Saturday, easing through the afternoon. A possible early storm there and strong winds also. Sunday and Monday still looking partly cloudy. Port Pirie continuing the trend with rain and wind on Saturday, but remaining fine Sunday and Monday. Clare again with strong winds on Saturday and showers easing through the afternoon. Sunday and Monday both partly cloudy. And finally to Broken Hill, where we're not expecting any rain on Saturday, but still can't escape those winds, reaching up to 45 kilometres an hour through the day. Sunday nice and sunny, and then partly cloudy into the new week. And Louise, that's all I've got for you today. I'll see you again tomorrow with more on Saturday's windy situation, but until then, it's back to you.
We'll look forward to it. Thanks, Britt. We leave you tonight with some unusual underwater vision. Scientists have been left baffled this week after a video was captured of a great white shark with a rare spinal deformity. The video of the unusual-looking shark was taken near the Neptune Islands, south of Port Lincoln, during a shark cage dive. The sighting of the shark leaving scientists debating at what caused the scars and hunched back, some suggesting rising ocean temperatures might have caused the deformity. Similar sightings have been made in New South Wales. And that's all your news for this evening. We'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.